friends, to a new episode of Connect Your Speech. Well, in this episode, we're going to talk about intrusive sounds. And we're going to talk mainly about 3 intrusive sounds in English language. So, first, let's define what intrusion is. Let's go. So, what is intrusion? And I would say intrusion is when 2 words are said together, an extra sound is sometimes placed. So that's a very important element of the definition. An extra sound is sometimes placed where? Between them in order to make them easier to say. So let's have a look at this one more time. So when 2 words are said together, an extra sound is sometimes placed between them in order to make them easier to say. Wonderful. Lovely jubbly. So this is something that we add between words to make them easier to say, to make my pronunciation faster, to make my pronunciation smooth. So let's see how we can do this. Right. And first, let's start with words ending with unrounded lips. And when I say unrounded lips, what do we mean by this exactly? Like this one, that's unrounded. But rounded lips are known. This is when your lips are like this. Or these are rounded. Now let's see some examples of words ending in unrounded vowels. Let's see. And the first one is B. Look at my lips. B. Unrounded. Another example. C. Unrounded. Another one. Day. Unrounded. Another one. Way. Unrounded. Another one. Say. Unrounded. So all these words end in unrounded vowels. Now let's imagine that these words are followed by other words that start with vowels. Like what? In, starting with a vowel. Now when we put these together, we have be and we have in. But we don't want to say be in, because that is not smooth. That is not fast. That is not connected. We need to say something like, instead of be in, we will say be in. We will say be in. Now what happened here? I added a sound. Look at this. I said be in. Now I added a yah sound. And this yah sound is an intrusive sound. And the reason why I call it an intrusive sound is because it is not originally part of the pronunciation of these words. It is added. It is an addition. It is an extra sound. Right. Now, let's go to C. And look at this. We have here off. Now, we don't want to say C off. We want to link these together. So we will say C off. C off. So again, I added a yah sound. Why? Because C ends in an unrounded vowel. So it will be like that. C off. Now let's go to day. And imagine that we want to add in. I don't want to say day in, day in, day in. No, I don't want this glottal sound. So it will be day in, day in, and it will be like that. Day in. So the yah here is an intrusive sound added because the first word ends in a vowel that is unrounded and followed, of course, by another vowel. Another example. Look at this. way, let's add of. So are we going to say way of? No, we don't want to say way of. We want to say way of. Way of. And it will be this way. Another example. Let's go to say. Say, and we add it. So we don't want to say it. No. So it will be say it. Say it. So we added a yes sound. Look at this. Say it. Wonderful. Excellent. So rule number 1 in intrusive sounds. When you have a word ending in an unrounded vowel, followed by a word starting with any vowel, you add a yes sound. And this happens a lot in the American accent, in the British accent, and in the Australian accent. So let's go to some examples from the American accent. Let's watch.
And there is no way to be in this universe without math.
We found human footprints, as you see off on the right.
That one day in your life, you will no longer be passionate. You will no longer be capable.
That there's an alternative way of raising taxes.
When I say it, they go, wow.
Now, some examples on the yes sound from the British accent.
As an attitude, not a profession, to be in tune with the times.
Not only can you see off the competition, but the beefier you are, the more female attention you get.
I love having a basic wardrobe of jewellery, just a few pieces that I wear day in, day out.
Plants and other organisms use light to grow by way of photosynthesis.
Ridiculous now that I say it. So many people had recommended her to me.
Now let's go to some examples from the Australian accent. Let's see.
And when this is broadcast, well, I'll be in the midst of COP26 in Glasgow.
There's some coral rubble which you can see off to the lower right.
But for most organisations who are working day in, day out,
you also need a way of holding all those questions together.
In Italian, there's over 10 different ways to say it.
Now let's move to the second intrusive sound. And we're going to talk about words, this time ending with rounded lips. And when I say rounded lips, like that. This is rounded. Right. Like what? Like, as you see, do. Look at my lips. Do. Second one, look at my lips. Now. It ends with a rounded vowel. Go. No. And the last one, show. Right. Now, let's go to do and imagine that we want to add it. So we don't want to say do it. Do it. This is unnatural. But we will say do it. Do it. W. So I added a w sound. Do it. Now, let's go to now and we add on. Now we don't want to say now on. No. We don't want to say now on. We want this to be faster, more natural. So it becomes now on, now on, one, now on, like that. Now let's go to go. And let's try to add out. So we don't want to say go out. No, we want it to be faster. So it becomes go out, like that. Now let's go to know. And imagine that we want to add end. But we don't want to say no end. We want it to be faster, so it becomes no end. No end. Like that. Now let's go to show. And we have here off. We don't want to say show off, show off. We want to say show off, woff, show off. So, a w sound. So rule number 2, when you have a word ended in a rounded vowel, followed by a word starting with a vowel, you can add the w sound as an intrusive sound so that your pronunciation is faster and more natural. And the intrusive w sound is very common in the American accent, the British accent, and the Australian accent. So let's go and see the W sound in the American accent. Let's watch.
When you want to change, it's not easy. If it were in fact easy, everybody would do it.
Changes will go into effect. This means from now on, any content made for kids will have certain features limited or turned off to lessen data collection and use.
So I would go out into the sandbox and I would spend hours and hours.
I have just totally embarrassed my daughter to no end.
And she turned to me and she called me a show-off.
Now, time to go to the British accent. Let's see that.
You know, if we were doing it like they do it, let's not do it, but if we were to do it.
And from now on, he wanted to get closer to nature, actually.
And then you're ready to go out and shoot your bow.
It's everlasting. There is no end to this era.
You can also try referring to any relevant industry news or developments in order to show off your knowledge and gauge their opinion on the topic.
And now, the Australian accent and the W as an intrusive sound. Let's see.
We have to do it in the style of Bertolt Brecht to earn credit points.
This will be my fate from now on.
If you want something and you think that it is achievable, go out there and make it happen.
But that's a conflict with no end in sight.
I always make videos with the intention to give value instead of just show off my work.
Now let's move to another rule. And now we're going to talk mainly about the British accent and the Australian accent. I'm not going to talk about the American accent now. So we're going to talk about words ending with the schwa sound. This is the schwa sound. And the schwa is pronounced like This is the schwa sound. Like when you say China, in the end. China. That's the schwa sound in the end. Think about idea. Think about Obama. In the end. So we have China, we have idea, and we have Obama. Now in the British accent and the Australian accent, when the schwa sound at the end of a word, followed by another word, starting with a vowel, this is when you link these two words using an intrusive sound. But which sound exactly? Let's see. Imagine that we add is. So we want to say China is, but we don't want to say China is. So it becomes China is. Ha ha ha. China is. China is. So a ref sound. Now let's move to idea. And again, I'm talking about the British accent and the Australian accent. This is very common there. Now let's move to the word idea. And imagine that we want to follow it with of. But we don't want to say idea of. We want it to be faster, so it becomes idea of. Idea of. Now let's go to Obama. And we want to add Obama is. So it becomes Obama is. Obama is. Obama is. So rule number 3, when you have a word ending in a schwa sound, followed by another word, starting with a vowel sound, in Australian English and British English, you add a rah sound as an intrusive sound to link these two words together. Let's go and see some examples from British English.
And now China is saying, wait a minute, that doesn't make any sense.
So, for example, take the Jewish idea of forgiveness.
I know you talked somewhat to President Obama about that, but I sort of hoped in that interview that you and he would dig a little further into that.
Oh, here it was lovely. It had a swimming pool, a sauna and a kazoozie.
Now some more examples from Australian English. Let's go.
He got this one absolutely right, because China is today not just woken up. China has stood up and China is on the march, and the question for us all is, where will China go?
But for me, there's something really important to reclaim here about the idea of a system that has to accommodate culture, technology, and the environment.
So President Obama here to see some real Australians. Second, President Obama is here to say to the serving military personnel, to the people from our Australian Defence Force and to some American friends as well, thank you for what you do.
So you've got to once again think about the drama of the film if revealing their identity is an important moment.
Now let's move to another rule. And this time we're talking about words ending with R. So words like spa, schwa, and bourgeois. Lovely. So let's see. Now we try to add in. So how would we say it? Spa in? No. Sparring. And again, this is in the British accent and the Australian accent. Now what about schwa? And we want to add of. But instead of saying schwa of, we say sharov. Sharov. Lovely. Now let's go to bourgeois. And let's say we want to add is. So we're not going to say bourgeois is. No, we're going to say bourgeois is. And again, as we said, this is very common in the British accent and the Australian accent. Now let's go and see some examples from the British accent. Let's go.
He remarried and had several children, presenting a stolid bourgeois appearance to the world.
She was on holiday at a spa in Germany when she decided to offer the money.
After the revolution, Khomeini was afraid of a coup d'etat rising from the traditional army that had always been loyal to the Shah of Persia prior to the revolution.
The French chemist François-Emmanuel Verguin synthesized from aniline a dye that was originally called...
Now more examples from the Australian accent.
And Shah. Shah and me wrote the report.
Dr. Lara Espina-Polinos, and she's actually a child psychiatrist, works in a particular area, actually comes from Bogota in Colombia. She was providing service.
Now another rule. And this time we're talking about words ending with or. Someone says, Shady, but wait a minute, or, that's a rounded vowel. Why is it a difference? And I would say, this is how Australian and British people use it. So when there is a word ending in this special rounded vowel, or, followed by another word, starting with a vowel, they link it, but not with the wah sound. They link it with the ra sound. Examples, saw, draw, claw. Now let's see with saw. So imagine that you want to add it in British and Australian English, you would say saw it, draw. In British and Australian English, when you want to say draw, you don't say draw, you say drawer, like draw a picture. I want to draw a picture, Now let's go to claw. And when you add is, you don't say the claw is, no, you say the claw is, Now let's see some examples from the British accent. Let's go.
He posted the idea on Facebook where a Cameroonian government official saw it and managed to secure a government grant from him.
We tend to sort of retreat and say, oh, we can draw a picture, we can show some graphs.
The longer claw is so out of scale that it's nearly the entire length of the lobster's body. Born to a minor noble family in Anagni, Italy, Benedetto Caetani became a successful student of canon law and later a member of the Roman Curia.
Now, some more examples from the Australian accent. Let's go.
For those of us that saw it when it first came out, it was very impressive.
In the time it takes to draw a breath, we were plunged into a darkness so immense.
So that's why cat's claw is a weed.
And you needed an appropriate body of commercial law and regulation. So all those things went forward together. It wasn't...
So ladies and gentlemen, in today's episode of Connect Your Speech, we talked about the 3 English intrusive sounds. 2 of them are used in the 3 big accents, the Australian accent, the British accent, and the American accent. And one intrusive sound, which is the ra sound, is used actually in 2 main accents, the British accent and the Australian accent. Now remember, my friends, that intrusive sounds are parts of connected speech. So if you're pronouncing words slowly and one by one in a disconnected way, you're not going to use these intrusive sounds. So thank you very much for watching this episode of Connect Your Speech, my friends, and see you again. Remember that I'll be down there in the comments. If you want to ask me any questions, just leave it there and I'll be responding to you. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.